the Dream 100 Show. The epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey, it's Michael, and welcome to episode 006 of the Dream 100 Show. Today's topic is going to be all about outreach. So let's do a very rapid recap as we have the last couple of episodes so that you're clear on what we've been building on. If you haven't listened to the last couple of episodes, please do before, as these previous episodes have been building, so each one is building on the next. So at a high level, the first thing that we looked at was picking who you're going to be going after for your Dream 100 audience. So we talked through all the different pros and cons of going after very specific customers. We talked about going after strategic partners, joint ventures, and also going after press. So newspapers, TV, radio, that kind of stuff. And each of those could be their own Dream 100 audience. We talked through doing all the data scraping. So how do you gather the information? What information are you trying to gather? So you're going to pick up personal information, professional information, all their social media accounts, and getting all of that on one document. From there, you then took some time to clean up your social media, knowing that as you start today's process of executing the content and messaging and putting things out there, that even if you don't get some instant replies, they're going to start to go and stalk you on social media. And you're going to get people that are going to look at your LinkedIn profile, your personal website, your Facebook account as we start to leverage these different tools, tactics, and methodologies. So you've cleaned all that stuff up, and now you are ready to start with the next step. So all the previous episodes were all about getting ready for what's to come. So what I want you to do is to have everything dialed into your document. In a perfect world, you're leveraging our Dream 100 software. I'll make sure to link it. There's a free trial. You've got everything ready to go, because as you start this, what you're going to find is that it's a bit of a labor of love. What we're aiming for with your Dream 100 is we're aiming to start hitting daily singles. We're not aiming to hit it out of the park. We're aiming to start hitting some daily singles. So what I want you to do is to get all this stuff very organized so that in a perfect world, you can delegate this to someone on your team. You're going to realize very quickly that this is a very time-intensive process, and entrepreneurs are typically not as detailed-oriented, they're not as laser-focused on the boring stuff. We love the shiny objects, we love to jump from thing to thing, and with this process, the whole thing that makes this successful are those daily singles. Executing the action steps, executing the outreach, the messaging every single day, regardless of how good or how bad you feel. So the way that I know that it's going to get done is my team is doing it, I'm not doing it. The likelihood that I can sit down for a couple of hours every single day and take these steps is very, very challenging. So you've got your document up, and what we're going to do is you're going to start at the top and we're going to start going down. So let's just work through and we're going to talk through a random niche as I have done in the past. So I'll pretend that you have that list kind of lock and loaded, ready to go. And we're going to start some outreach. When I say outreach, what I want you to think of is more of making that particular person aware that you exist. And knowing that we're going to have to do it in a soft way. So you have the standard outreach that you probably have gotten that everyone and their third cousin does. And those emails go something like this. Hey, Michael, I see that you work with agencies. Would you be open to hearing about our new coaching program where I can guarantee you 10 new clients, $1 million, or you don't pay? Reply back with the time that works to get on a call. I get those types of emails every single day. I get similar direct messages. Hey, Michael, you there? Hey, Michael, looks like we have something in common. This is the type of stuff that was taught many, many years ago, where you could go to LinkedIn, you would add everybody on Facebook, for example, or everyone on LinkedIn, and then you would send them a message, and then you would send another message a week later, and then a week later. Now, does this stuff work? It can work, and I've seen it work, and I deploy this kind of stuff, but I don't deploy that kind of outreach for my Dream 100. Again, the Dream 100, these are people that they should be harder to reach, harder to get a hold of, busier people, more influential, wealthier people. The cold outreach that I'm doing would be more if I'm aiming to, so I have a marketing agency among other businesses. I work in a couple of different niches. So if I'm looking to get a client in a particular niche, they're not a Dream 100 client, but we might send an email like that with better copy than what I rattled off. But we do that in quantity. We're not sending out 100 emails a day. We're sending out 10,000. We're sending out, 100,000 emails typically a week. And that's a quantity game. And you know that maybe you send out 100,000 and you get 20 replies, for example. And that's that particular game where it's more of a quantity game. This Dream 100 messaging, this Dream 100 outreach is more about them becoming aware that you exist, and slowly over the next 1 to 2 months, them to hopefully engage or raise their hand that they want to either have a conversation, they want to get on a phone call, they're willing to have a discussion through email, they reply back to something, so we'll talk that through. So I'm going to go to my little niche selector here, and I'm going to have it pick a random niche that I can talk through. All right, so the niche that it selected was dog trainers. So let's assume that you're in the industry of serving dog trainers, and you either have a product, you're an agency, you've got a service, but your end audience is dog trainers. So if we're going after, again, the Dream 100 concept, let's say we're looking for joint ventures and influencers, you're probably going to be looking for who's written books that dog trainers buy, who's written courses, what are the industry conferences, who runs those conferences. You're looking at dog training institutes, so you're again going after all those different types of people. And when you've got that list built, which was the previous episode that we talked about, let's say the first person on the list is an industry expert, and they've written a couple of books, they've got a podcast, they've got a lot of followers all across social media. So you should have all of their social media channels already listed, and you should ideally have all of their personal stuff and all of their business stuff. The first thing that I want you to do is to friend them on one of these social media channels. The one that we typically see the fastest acceptance to, surprisingly, is Facebook. But I'm looking for you to add them to one, not every single account yet, but I want you to add them to one account. The reason that you want to do that is that one small little thing, regardless of anything else that goes forward or comes forward as you start to do the outreach, they're going to see your name. And if they don't know you, which they probably won't, they're most likely going to click on your Facebook profile because it's going to spark their curiosity. We typically have seen about a 30 to 40% success rate of just getting them to accept your friend request. Some people just accept friend requests like they're candy. Other people, depending on what they have on their personal profiles, they tend to be a little bit more protective. So you're going to do that, and you're going to start to go through your list, and you're not going to send 100 Facebook requests on day one. They may have other channels that you might want to look at first. Maybe you say, well, they seem really active on LinkedIn. So maybe of that Dream 100, and again, you should have roughly 120 on that list because some are going to start to whittle off. You're going to send maybe 20 on Facebook. You're going to send maybe 20 on LinkedIn, maybe 10 on Instagram. You're going to kind of do it a little bit sporadically where you're not just sitting down in day one, you're hitting send request, send request, send request, send request. I guess that's a hard thing to say several times fast. You don't want to do that because then the likelihood of you getting blocked by Facebook or going into Facebook jail or LinkedIn jail, we don't want them to think you're trying to game the system. But sending 10, 15 requests during the course of a day on different platforms, you're going to be just fine. Yes, you could leverage different software and do this. I still like to do most of these things manually. So while we have our Dream 100 software, the tool isn't necessarily there to do everything for you manually. The tool is there to make sure that you're doing the daily wins, that it's tracking everything, it's tracking the interactions, it's giving you conversation points, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So don't go through your entire list, but as you're doing this, you need to be methodically checking boxes and keeping track of what you did during the course of that day. So these 10 people, I sent a friend request on Facebook, these 10 on LinkedIn, these 10 on Instagram, these 5 on TikTok, these 5 on Twitter. Just keep track of all that stuff. Again, we see the best success on Facebook. So just because you've sent 10 on LinkedIn, 10 on Facebook, 10 on Instagram, as we go forward in this process, you're going to end up aiming to friend request them on every platform. But you don't want to do everything right out of the gate because that then starts to signify salesy, borderline stalkerish. If all of a sudden you go to your Dream 100 prospect and you friend request them on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, like it's going to look creepy. So we pick one platform and then after something has occurred, we're going to add another one, which I'll talk about. So you're going to send out those friend requests. That's the first thing you're going to do. The second thing you're going to do is all of those friend requests, in addition to the people that day one you didn't send anything to, you're going to pick one of their platforms that they seem to be most active on, and you're going to reply to something that they have posted. And the secret sauce to the reply is not to make it something generic that everyone else says. So let's say they talk about an important milestone at their business. So let's stay with the dog training industry influencers. Let's say they talk about a new book that they just published or a new podcast episode, or I've been in the industry for 15 years. Today's the 15th day one of year 15. I want you to go on that. I want you to actually write out a thoughtful comment without any sales pitch attached to that post. Now, what I like to do and what our software does is it actually looks for the posts that are getting the least amount of engagement. You might say, well, Michael, why would I post on the ones that don't have much engagement? Well, the chances are high that if they post a really big milestone, they might have 100 comments. Your post is going to get lost in a sea of comments. Whereas if you actually scroll back a month, 2 months, 3 months, and reply to something there with a thoughtful comment, they're going to notice that a lot quicker. So the chances of them noticing that are a lot higher than on stuff that's brand new with a lot of comments. The key here again is it needs to be a thoughtful comment. If you have someone on your team doing this, you need to write examples. We give 100+ examples of what would be a thoughtful comment that they can kind of swipe and deploy and then leverage AI to tweak it. I'm not looking for you to write a paragraph, but if they were to say, today is day one of year 15, my comment might say something like, let's just say that the gentleman's name is Steve. Steve, that's an insanely amazing accomplishment that you've been able to serve the industry for 15 years. I've been a big fan of yours. Read this book, read that book, listened to lots of podcasts. Hope you continue to have many more successful years in this industry. done. Not long, not salesy, not it's great to digitally meet you, anything like that. Look at areas that you can kind of stroke their ego a little bit without it being too over the top. You're going to make the post, check it off your list, go on to the next person. And you're going to do this every single day with your Dream 100. Now, what I'm looking for you to do is to vary up the networks that you're commenting on, the types of posts that you're giving, and if you need to pull it back a little bit over the first month, you can. If you start to notice, it's getting to be a little bit tough to add value or to make a post, but if you think about it, most of these people are going to have, at the very least, Facebook and LinkedIn. Very, very few people that are going to be on your Dream 100 list that do not have a LinkedIn profile. And everyone and their cousin has Facebook. The chances are high that they're also going to have either TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, an additional platform. The chances are also very, very high that their business accounts are going to have social media. So what you're able to do is you can kind of vary it a little bit. So it's not that I want you to go and put a thoughtful comment every single day for 30 days in a row on their personal Facebook. I want you to vary it. I want one day on their personal Facebook, the next day LinkedIn, the next day Twitter, back to their Facebook. Make a thoughtful comment on one of their posts. Share one of their business posts. Share one of their tweets. It's those daily, really small things that are going to start to compound. Now, it might seem a little bit uncomfortable. Daily, which you've never done before, is a lot. But if we look at that end goal, that end outcome, the whole point of this is we need them to notice you to where they start to reply. And what you're going to find is that with those daily singles, they're going to start to notice you and they're going to start to reply to your comments. They're probably going to send you an inbox message. Hey, I see you commenting on all my stuff. Really appreciate that. Let's talk. The goal is not to seem like a stalker, because it's that fine line. Because you might say, well, Michael, what about one post a week? That's not enough. Not enough. And especially if you're going to spread it around, it might be one post a week on their personal profile, and then one on their business profile, one on their Twitter account, something on their Instagram. Now, if they're not active on the account, as in they've posted in the last week or two, it's going to be a tad awkward if you're going back and commenting on things from 3 years ago. So you really want to focus on the accounts that you know they're a little bit active on. They're posting some stuff on a semi-regular basis, so you know they're checking it. I don't want to be posting on their Twitter account and it shows they haven't had a tweet in 6 years. That doesn't make any sense. I probably would post once or twice, and maybe that would get seen, but the chances are pretty low if they're not commenting on anything, they're not adding followers or doing anything on Twitter, they probably haven't logged in, they probably don't even know what their password is. So don't make that your primary focus. So I like to look at what's that one that they are most actively engaging on. And all that I'm looking for you to do for the first 3 to 4 weeks is to have those daily wins of posting. Now, after the first couple of days, you will have gotten a bunch of friend requests out. And let's say even 25 of those 100 accept your request. The beautiful thing of once you're connected is as we continue to move forward in the process and we start to turn up the heat a little bit and we start to get permission to do something, it makes it a lot easier to reach their inbox. Sending Facebook direct messages, if you're not connected, they're going to land in the other box, most likely, and they're never going to see those messages unless you're connected on different groups. But what I'm looking for, again, is month 1, you're going to hit those daily singles by going through your Dream 100, commenting on one of their platforms with something thoughtful. Not one-word replies or even just 3 or 4 words. I really want something that's a little bit thought out, a little bit thought through. As we continue that, you're going to start to get some replies back from them. And what we're looking to do is, as people are replying back, you're going to start to add points. So points meaning, well, these 6 people have responded to 16 of my messages already. They know who you are. They've seen your name. So as we start to reach a point value of 10 is usually the number that I like to use, we're going to then move to the next stage. If anyone responds to everything, you can start to move forward in the process a little bit more rapidly. But you have to have some patience, and that's the hard thing for me. As I see somebody reply, I want to reply back and say, oh, thanks for the reply. You want to get on a conversation. You want to get on a phone call. It's not what this is. This is about adding some value, getting to know them, and what we're looking for and really looking to learn as you're going through their accounts is I want you to get to know them personally. That's why on the last episode, episode 5, I talked about you needing to know where they went to college, where they went to high school, where do they hang out, where do they travel to, their family. I want you to get to know that stuff as you're posting. And what you're doing is you're building out more and more intelligence of each of your contacts. So you're commenting every single day on one of their accounts. You're then adding more details as you're learning. You're looking at what they're posting and you're going to continue to add notes. So all of a sudden you've got that Dream 100 list, but you've got a file that's pages long of all the different things. They seem to be very passionate about these 3 topics. They have 2 kids. They've taken 8 vacations and 6 of the 8 have went to Orlando. Now, they love Orlando. Obviously, most likely Disney or Universal. And you're building out these different pages so that as this progresses, and the progression is we're aiming to invite them either onto our podcast, we're aiming to get on a conversation, we're aiming to have coffee, we're aiming to meet at an event, and that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode. So as you've posted, what do we then do next? So you're going to keep hitting your daily singles. Well, great. What do we do now? Before I give you too much of it, you need to start executing the daily singles. So if you've been trekking with me, over the next couple of days, start executing those daily singles, posting on your Dream 100, adding the 100 people across your different social media accounts, but just pick one for now. We can pick another one after those, typically 3-4 weeks. Now, there's no magical formula of the timeline. It's one of the biggest questions I get. Michael, is it exactly 3 weeks and 2 days that I can then add them on another platform? It varies based on the audience that you are going after. Some audiences are used to this kind of outreach. Some of them are lawyers and certain types of people. Marketers, in particular, they're used to this all day, every day. But you might try and friend request a lawyer and they're like, what the heck? I don't want you to see pictures of my kids. But if you send them a request on LinkedIn, they're going to accept it in 30 seconds because they might think that you might be a potential client. So you have to know about your industry and just know a little bit of the norms. Now, just because it's not normal to have a Facebook post commenting on their stuff every single week, I don't want that to deter you. Say, well, Michael, that's never been done before. I can tell you that if we've only posted something once a week, it's not going to get you the result you need. What we're aiming for in this next 30 days is to get in front of them, get a handful of people to accept our friend request, and get them to reply back to some of our comments. And the chances are pretty high they're going to respond to at least one of them, because over the month, you're going to have 30 different comments across their social media. At the very least, they're going to start liking your comments, but ideally they're going to start responding back. And as those responses come in, you're going to start to see on your Dream 100 who's at the kind of the top of the list that has engaged with you a little bit. And then we move forward to the next week, and that is inviting them to something in a soft way. Podcast, event, coffee, Zoom call, text chat, Facebook chat, something small, and we're going to keep moving forward in the process. Leave questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. Let me know how you're tracking, if anything has tripped you up so far. Tune in next week as we continue these initial podcast episodes of giving you the framework of the Dream 100 to execute this to completely transform your life and your business. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.